guys. Let's keep going with chapter 1. We're going to be talking about renaming numbers today. I know you're probably like, renaming numbers? What's wrong with the way they are right now? But what we're going to do is remember from lesson 1.1 where we looked at our manipulatives, our cubes, and our flats, and our longs to help us visualize what those numbers look like. So this is what we're going to use today to help us rename those numbers. So let's look at what we've got here. It says that we're going to use our large cube and our flats to model 1,200, and then we're going to draw a quick picture to record our model. So let's look at what we've got here and see how we can rename 1,200. So let's review really quick what each of these stands for. What did we say this large cube represented? Right, we said this large cube stands for our thousands. What about our flat? What did we say our flats stood for? Good. These are our hundreds. And what about these longs? The long skinny sticks. What did these represent? Right. These represented our tens. So we're going to use these 10 blocks to model 1,200. So what do you think would be the quickest way to get to 1,200? Right. We can use a 1,000 block, and here's 1,000 right there. How many hundreds would I need to represent 200? How many hundreds would it take to make 200? Right, it would take 2. So I'm going to take 2 of my flats because we said that these stand for 100 each, and this is going to be 100, 200. So now I have got 1,200 represented with my blocks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw this as a picture. Now don't get crazy. We're not going to be drawing a cube. We're just going to draw it as a square. But watch how we can differentiate between the two. So I'm going to draw a square here, but to represent and show that it stands for the thousands, I'm going to put a big capital T in the middle of it so that we know that that's a thousands block. What about 100? How would I show these flats? How can I draw those? Right, I'm just going to draw it just like it looks. I'm going to draw a couple squares. So we've got 100, 200. And because those don't have any of those letters in there, we know that these are going to be our hundreds and not our thousands. So we have modeled 1,200 with our tens blocks, and we've drawn it as a picture. 1,000, 1,100, 1,200. So the model shows that we used how many large cubes? Right, we used one large cube because that represents our 1,000. And how many flats or hundreds did we use? Right, we used 2. Good job. So we used one large cube and 2 flats. So another name for 1,200 is 1 thousands cube and 2 hundreds. Great job. All right, now we're going to look at some more examples. We're going to model or draw 150, but they want us to show 150 as tens. So remember, this is what stands for our tens, these longs. So what would be a really easy way to draw one of these? Right, just a long line, just like that will represent these tens. Good job. So we've got to see how many tens it takes to make 150. What do you think would be a really easy way that we could do that as we're drawing? Yeah, good. We could count by 10. So let's go ahead and do that. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, and 150. So now I have modeled 150 using tens. So now I've got to count how many of those tens I drew to stand for that 150. So let's go ahead and count and see how many we drew. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it took 15 tens to represent 150. So we can say, instead of 150, we could say there was 15 tens. So that's just another way to rename that number, is we can say that we're using tens instead of calling it 150. Now, do we do that every day? Do we say there's $150 in my account, or do we say there's 15 tens in my bank account? Right, we're going to say the 150, but sometimes knowing that there's 15 tens in 150 lets us think a little bit differently. Okay, now we've got 1,400, and they want us to rename it as hundreds. So we're going to have to draw hundreds until we get to 1,400. What did we say we can use to represent hundreds when we're drawing? Yeah, we're going to use these squares right here. Very good. Okay, so let's get to drawing. If you've got some paper in front of you, go ahead and draw along with me. If you don't, pause this video, go get a piece of paper and a pencil, and draw it along with me, okay? All right, so we've got 100. Make sure you're counting as you're going so you can keep up with it. 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000, 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, and 1,400. Great job. Whew. That's a lot of squares. Notice how my squares are not perfect. Some of them aren't even connected. So don't get hung up in making sure that your lines are perfectly straight or that your squares are perfectly square. As long as you know what they represent, that's all that matters, okay? So now that we've drawn out and we've counted our hundreds all the way up to 1,400, now we've got to go back and count and see how many of those it took to come to 1,400. So let's go ahead and count them. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So it took us 1,400 or 14 hundreds to make 1,400. Very good. Raise your hand if you have ever heard someone, maybe your parent or your grandparent or your aunt or your uncle, say 1,400. Like, I've got $1,400, or there were 1,400 people at the stadium. Yeah, I say that sometimes too. 1,400 is another way of saying 1,400. And this is why. Because it takes 1,400s to get to 1,400. Great job, guys. You guys are doing awesome. Let's keep going and see some more examples, okay? Uh-oh. Okay. So what this means is that my computer decided that it wanted to go to sleep. So give me about 15 seconds and I will be right back. All right, guys, I'm back. See, this happens sometimes. This is like you're really in class and the computer decides that it wants to go to sleep. Okay, let's look at these two examples right here. Number 3 and number 4. Okay, so number 3, we've got 2,000s and 300s, and they want to know how many hundreds that is. Okay, so we're going to have to draw 2,000s and 300s, but they want it as hundreds. So who remembers how many flats it took to get a cube? Let's see real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you said 10, you are correct. 10 flats is the same thing as 1 cube. So it takes 10 hundredths to equal 1,000. 1,000. So this might be even more squares than before. So we've got, to represent those thousands, we're going to have to draw 10 hundredths for each one. So how many is that going to be? If I have to draw 10 for each one and there's 2 of them, how many is that? What's 10 times 2? Right, that's 20. So go ahead and draw 20 squares on your paper while I'm drawing 20 squares up here, and then we'll pause and go on to the next part. Okay, I've got my 20 squares up here, so I know that that represents my 2,000. Oh, but we have 300s that we still need to draw as well. So I'm going to draw 3 more squares to represent that 300. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so now that I've got 2,300 represented by all of these squares, I've got to see how many there are total. So if I had 20 between the 1,000 and 2,000, what's 20 plus the 3 extra? Right, 23. So in 2,000s and 300s, there are 23 hundredths. Great job. Are your hands getting tired from drawing all those squares? Okay, number 4, 13 hundredths. Oh, we're doing something opposite this time. Instead of trying to figure out how many of something there are, they're giving us what our picture is going to look like, and they want us to group it together to see how we could rename it as thousands and hundreds. So here's what you're going to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to draw what they have told us here. 13 hundredths. So while I'm drawing mine here, I want you to go ahead and draw them on your paper too. So let's go ahead and draw 13 flats together. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Okay. Shake your hands out. Give your hands a break for a second. I know they're probably getting cramped from drawing all those squares. Okay, so now you're probably thinking, okay, but how am I going to rename it as 1,000 and hundreds? There's only hundreds there. You're right, there is. But do you remember how we said that 10 hundredths and 1,000 are the exact same? Right. So what I want you to do on your paper is I want you to count out 10 of those flats, because remember, 10 hundredths makes 1,000. So I want you to count out 10 flats, and then I want you to circle them all together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to circle mine like this. Okay? And so I know that those that I've circled right there equal to 1,000. So how many circles do you see on your paper? Yeah, just one, right? Which means that we were only able to create 1,000 out of those squares. But now we've got to see how many flats are left to figure out how many hundredths. So how many hundredths are not in that circle? Right, 3. There's 3 hundredths not in that circle. 1, 2, 3. So there are 3 hundredths left over. So 13 hundredths is the same thing as 1,300. Good job, guys. All righty. Uh-oh. All right. Pause again. Give your hand some hand workouts while I'm getting this computer fixed back. All right, your hands all ready to keep working? Okay, good job, guys. Way to stick with me today. I know we've had more technical difficulties than I would like, but y'all are doing so awesome just rolling with the punches with me. All right, 2 more, guys. You can do it. Okay, 18 thousands. Now we're going to see what 18 thousands stands for. So, if you see here, I've got our place value chart. Our ones period has our ones, tens, hundred, and then our thousands period has ones, thousands, 10,000, and 100,000s as well. All right, so you're probably like, oh, I don't know, I can't put 2 numbers in a box, and you're right, you can't. But here's how we can do this. So you're going to look right here at this word, thousands, okay? That's going to tell you where the last number in your digit needs to be. So this 8 is going to have to be in our thousands place. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this 8 and I'm going to write it right here. And then that 1, I'm going to put it in the one next to it. Just like this. Because if we break up 18, what do we have? How many 10s are in 18? Right, 1. And how many 8s, or how many 1s are in, how many 1s are in 18? Yeah, 8 1s. So, does that make a little bit more sense how we put the 8 in the 1,000s place and the 1 in the 10,000s place? All right, so now everything over here, what do you think is going to go here? Can we just leave it like that? No, we've got to replace these with zeros. So we're going to put zeros in here just like that. Does that number look like something you've seen before? Yeah, that's 18,000. So 18 thousands is the same thing as 18,000. Good job, guys. Alrighty, last one. We've got 570,000, and they want to know how many of 57 what? Okay? So I'm going to take this number right here, 570,000. I'm just going to write it in my place value chart, just like this, just how it looks. 570, just in case y'all can't see the top of that, 570,000. Okay? Alrighty. So, you notice they didn't tell you, oh no, they didn't say thousands, they didn't say ones, they didn't say tens. What am I supposed to do? It's okay. Let me show you what you're going to do. Okay, do you see the number that they gave you in the problem? What number did they give you in this problem right here for your answer? Right, they gave you 57. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to find 57 in your place value chart, and I want you to put a box around it, just like this. Just like that. Now we've got that 57 isolated. And so what we're going to focus on, and we're going to look at what place value it's in. So it's got the 100,000s and it's got the 10,000s in there. Where does that last number fall? Where does that last number fall? Right, it falls right here in the 10,000s place. 10,000s. So we would rename 570,000 as 57 10,000s. All right, you guys have done so awesome today. You have stuck with me through all the technical stuff, and I know that you are just killing it at renaming numbers. So what I want you to do now is I want you to go ahead and get off of this video and go check back in your math folder for today and see where your assignment is. Remember, if you need any help, you can always come back to this video and rewatch it as many times as you need. Okay, I love you guys. Keep working so hard.